Hey guys, we've just had our first 3 days of pre-season testing. So I've been busy on Excel putting together a whole bunch of data to try and get an inkling or an idea of how it's looking going into the new season. Obviously, do take this with a huge pinch of salt. I've had to do this manually, taking the information from the results during the last 3 days. But yeah, I hope it helps you get an idea of how things are looking very early on for the season. So, going to start off here. You see, I have put together a bunch of tables. So I've got drivers with the lap differences, their total lap deficit, and their total laps completed. I've then done the same for the constructors with a combined lap deficit and total laps. And I've also done one for the engine suppliers with an average lap deficit and total laps completed. So not going to focus too much on the tables. We'll come back to those at the end. But what I am going to do is switch over to the left side of your screen and go through the graphs that I've put together. Okay, so we've got the first graph here, total lap deficit across days 1 to 3 of Bahrain testing. So what we have here is we have the combined deficit of their laps over the 3 days. So at the end of each day, whatever their deficit was, that's been added for all 3 days. So that's the temps behind on pace, if that makes sense. So we've got the drivers at the bottom here, and we've got temps on the side. And we can see here that the current champion, Lando Norris, over 3 days, his total deficit is half a second. He's just a hundredth, if I've got that right, ahead of Leclerc. So it's looking good for McLaren with Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri. It's looking good for Ferrari with Leclerc and Hamilton. For Red Bull, Verstappen is doing fine. HAAS is a little behind. And for Mercedes, Antonelli and Russell are pretty much aligned. The surprise is actually HAAS, Ocon and Behrman are up here as well. So I'll use my mouse, but I might put like a logo or something. But we have McLaren, Ferrari, Mercedes, Red Bull, and then we've got HAAS. So HAAS are up there. On the downside, Cadillac have gained the most deficit over 3 days. Perez has the most, just behind on Bottas. Otherwise, it's not been great for Bortoleto at Audi and Stroll at Aston Martin. And it's not been great for Williams so far, for Sainz and for Albon. So let's look at the constructors. So the same thing, it's the combined lap deficit for the past 3 days going on their fastest times. So again, we've got the deficit on the side, and then we've got the constructors at the bottom. And McLaren are currently on top, almost half a second deficit. And then again, we've got Ferrari up there just behind McLaren, just ahead of Mercedes and Red Bull. But again, HAAS are up there. So HAAS are, well, going by testing, obviously we've got to take all this with huge pinch of salt, but going by testing, HAAS are looking strong. On the downside, again, Cadillac, they're quite far behind, almost 25 seconds combined over 3 days, lap deficit. Williams isn't great, almost 20 seconds. And not great for Audi either. They are just ahead of Williams. So now we're going to look at the engine suppliers. So that's Audi, Ferrari, Honda, Mercedes, and the Red Bull powertrain. So again, this is combined, but it's on average for each supplier, because obviously each supplier has a different amount of drivers. So for example, with Audi, we've got 2 drivers, Bortoleto and Hulkenberg, whereas at Ferrari, we've got 6 drivers, Leclerc, Hamilton, Ocon, Behrman, Perez, and Bottas, because we've got 3 teams using the Ferrari engine. So this is on average for the engine suppliers. And for the engines, Mercedes and Red Bull seem to be the best engines at the moment when it comes to lap deficit. They've got the least lap deficit, around 10 seconds, just under 10 seconds. Then Ferrari is a little bit behind, followed by Honda, which is Aston Martin, and then Audi is at the bottom, which is obviously the Audi team. So when it comes to the engine suppliers, again, bear in mind it is on average, because each engine supplier has a different amount of teams and drivers. But on engine suppliers, Mercedes is just at the top, and of course McLaren use the Mercedes engine. So again, brings me back to McLaren looking very strong. So that's down to lap time, so lap deficit, i.e. how quick are they going to be, who's quickest. But now let's look at reliability. So for that, I've gone by the total number of laps completed. So again, we're looking at the drivers, and for the total laps completed over 3 days, I think it's Charles Leclerc. Leclerc has completed 218 laps, and then it's Piastri with 215. So they're the 2 drivers that completed the most laps. So Ferrari and McLaren. Ferrari engine, Mercedes engine. For the least, it's actually Antonelli. He's only completed 94 laps, and 3 of those laps didn't set lap times. So he's way down in terms of the amount of laps he's completed. But again, because we've got 4 teams using the Mercedes engine, and we'll get to that, we can be reassured, because Russell has done 188 laps. We've already looked at Piastri. Lando's done 207 laps. And then the Williams team, even though they're low on the average lap deficit, they have completed 208 laps for Alpine and 214 laps for Sainz. On the downside, the least is Fernando Alonso with 98. Antonelli with 94, like I said. Then it's Alonso with 98. And then we've got Stroll with 108. So Aston Martin completed the least amount of laps. We don't know why that is. We don't know what the team's plans were, but I'm just saying, in terms of laps completed, the Mercedes teams and Ferrari teams, Ferrari and HAAS mainly, are looking good for reliability. Because again, you can see here, Ocon, Behrman, they're also up in this part here. So now we go to the constructors. Same thing, total number of laps completed across days 1 to 3 of Bahrain testing for the constructors. And as we said, McLaren are up there, 422 laps completed. Ferrari are up there, 420 laps completed. HAAS are up there, 390 laps completed. So that's 2 Ferrari engine teams. Mercedes aren't as high, 282 laps. But Red Bull a little bit more with 343 laps. Again, a Mercedes team, Williams, 422 laps. So again, across the board, Mercedes engines and Ferrari engines completing the most amount of laps. In terms of the teams, Ferrari, McLaren and HAAS and Williams have managed to get through the most amount of laps. And then we come to, again, the engine suppliers. Again, this is for each engine supplier. This is not on average. This is total. So it doesn't matter how many teams or how many drivers. Total laps completed. And Mercedes, no surprise, 1,444. They do have 4 teams using the engine, but they've completed the most laps, followed by Ferrari, which is 3 teams. Ferrari, HAAS and Cadillac. 1,130 laps completed over 3 days. Honda, which is the Aston Martin team, only 206 laps. They completed the least, which we've already hit on, with Audi, the second lowest. leaving the Red Bull powertrain, Red Bull and Racing Bulls to come in the middle of 669. So what does that tell me at a very early glance? Well, it tells me that McLAREN as a constructor and Ferrari as a constructor look very, very strong. The Mercedes teams and the Ferrari teams in terms of engine supplier look very reliable. The dark horses I would say here are HAAS. HAAS are performing very, very well, or have performed very, very well in testing. So that could be a dummy. On the flip side, you've got Williams, who have completed a ton of laps, but are lower on at the lower end when it comes to the average lap deficit. So I'd say HAAS and Williams are the dark horses for the opposite reasons. But in terms of who I'm liking the look of right now, it would be McLAREN, Ferrari, and then obviously we've got Red Bull, Mercedes. Who I'm not liking the look of right now is Cadillac. I think Cadillac are looking like they've got a lot to learn. I mean, they're the new team, but it looks like they're going to be very, very low. Going by this very, very, very early data, take all this how you will. But yeah, just something I wanted to put together for us to just discuss and talk about. I don't know when this video will be out because it is late in the evening. It's Friday night that I'm doing this, and I'm going to be out tomorrow during Saturday. So this might not get out till Sunday, but we'll see. Anyway, thank you for watching. I'll try and have some more data videos in the coming weeks, or some more like predictions and stuff. But otherwise, take care, all the best, and I'll speak to you soon. Goodbye.